And the lights go out and it's away we go. Oscar holds on to the lead. Max passes Lando. Antonelli goes off into the escape road. Leclerc overtakes Russell. Max Verstappen. What the hell was that? I'll tell you what, I bet you old Lance Stroll was sitting in hospitality watching that and going, ooh. Oh, he can't, can he? No. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Yes, it was the Spanish Grand Prix. And it really wasn't much of a Grand Prix at all, really, was it? Before the safety car came out, I was going to give it 4 out of 10. But because of what happened with the safety car and afterwards, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, basically just for that incident. But if that wasn't in there, I'd have given the race overall a 4 out of 10, because until those last 10 laps of the Grand Prix, it was a total bore fest. Now, of course, it was Spain, the famous testing circuit that all the teams went to back in the day, but of course not anymore. But you know, the teams and the drivers, they know the circuit like the back of their hand, and it just doesn't offer up any excitement, really, does it? It really doesn't. There's no real excitement in Spain anymore. But obviously, you know, it's a European circuit. That's why it's kept on the calendar. Well, I say that, but you know, because it's European circuit, they keep it on there. But there's really nothing of excitement whenever it's time for the race at Spain, really, is there? Anyway, so off we go. Yes, lap 1, the lights went out. Oscar's pastry held on to the lead. Yes, Max passed Lando Norris. I'm not mentally strong enough. Well, yes, he wasn't again, because he got passed by Maxi Boy. And Kimi Antonelli, unfortunately went off his escape road, but he did manage to rejoin, so it was all good there. Then Charles Leclerc overtook George the Russell. And not the first time that George the Russell got in a little bit of controversy, which we'll get into in a minute. So on to lap 7, we had Albon. He pits for a new wing. Got a little bit of damage somewhere in the circuit. I don't know whether it's from the start or whatever, but he pits for a new wing. Then on lap 9, Yuki Tsunoda comes into the pits. Then on lap 10, it was the woe of the Ferraris once again. Yes, Lewis Hamilton in front of Charles Leclerc, but unfortunately, he wasn't going fast enough. No, and so the team said to him to swap the positions, which he did do. And when that swap took place, and literally 4, 5, 6 laps later, Charles Leclerc was 4 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Now, it's an impossible situation at Ferrari. I'm sure Lewis Hamilton didn't go into that team thinking that he was going to be the number 2 driver, but unfortunately, that's what he's turning out to be, the number 2 driver. I've said it before, age catches up with everybody. Yes, I know about Fernando Alonso, but let's face it, Fernando Alonso not doing very well this year either. But anyway, so yeah, Lewis let Leclerc go through, and he left him for dust. Well, 4 seconds of dust anyway. So yeah, there's not a lot else you can say about that. He did a good race. Lulu did a good race, but yeah, he's just this unfortunately is not the Lewis Hamilton of old. You know, when he was at his peak. He is reaching the end of his career, and I think now he finally realises it. I think he thought some of his problems were the Mercedes, but obviously he can see now that it isn't. It's his own pace. His own pace is starting to slow down, and there's nothing you can do about it. He's turned into the Riccardo Patrese of the F1 world. Yes, if anyone remembers Riccardo, because he was very similar. He started to slow down towards the end of his career, but he did make a very good number 2 driver, it has to be said. Very good number 2 driver. Anyway, so that was on lap 10, and then the positions after lap 10 was in first place, Oscar's Pastry, second place for Maxi Boy, third position for Lando Norris, fourth for Charles Leclerc, fifth for Hamilton, and sixth was George Russell. Then on to lap 13, Lando passes Max, because Max was screaming over the radio saying, "I have no grip." Now, what is wrong with that Red Bull? It's all over the place. The tyres are just not working. And there's no performance there either. It's just the team is slowly unravelling. Well, it's been unravelling since the start of last year and the Hornergate conspiracy theory about his WhatsApp shenanigans. It's been starting since then, and then of course Adrian Newey is now left, but it is starting to disintegrate, that team, and very soon some serious decisions are going to have to be made, because yeah, it's not good. And Max now is reaching the frustration factor, which I will get to in a minute. On lap 14, Fernando Alonso unfortunately slid off, but he did manage to rejoin the circuit. And on lap 14, Maxi Boy pitted, and on lap 20, Max passed George of the Russell. Not for the first time. Now, on lap 20, the positions were Piastri was in first, second for Norris, third for Verstappen, fourth for Russell, fifth for Antonelli, and sixth for Leclerc. And on lap 22, Lando pits, so does Oscar's Pastry. They were both pretty much dominant. There was no chance of anyone actually catching them. They had the race well in hand, it has to be said. All the action was going on behind them. They were just wafting along and doing the job that they needed to do, and there was really no competition, to be honest. And on lap 27, unfortunately, Albon retired. Well, it was lap 27, but it was sort of lap 28 because he had to go around and do another lap because there was a penalty which he had to take, and he had to go around again. That was a little bit silly, I have to say, a little bit silly. Surely they could have just stopped him at that point and said, that's it, we're done. But no, he had to go around again. Anyway, on lap 30, Max then came into the pits. The positions on lap 30 was Piastri still in the lead, of course, Norris in second. Leclerc was in third, fourth for Verstappen, fifth for Hamilton, and sixth for Russell. On lap 33, Lawson and Behrman make contact. Very heavy contact, is to be said. I'm not so sure about Liam Lawson. I'm not so sure he should still be in Formula 1, to be honest. Very erratic driving from Liam Lawson. Very erratic indeed. Then nothing really happened until lap 46 when they made some more pit stops. The Hulk pitted. Yes, the Hulk pitted. And on lap 47, Hamilton pitted, but unfortunately he had a slow stop, which didn't help him at all. On lap 48, Max pitted, 49 for Norris, and lap 50 for Oscar's Pastry. And away we go. So on lap 50, Pastry was in the lead, Norris in second, Verstappen in third, fourth for Leclerc, fifth for Russell, sixth for Hamilton. Then on lap 52, with some traffic problems for Max Verstappen, he came over the radio and said, bleep, 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 idiots. Talking about the cars that he was trying to get past. I do believe one of those was Liam Lawson. Yeah, so there you go. It was Liam Lawson. I've just got it written down here. Lawson held up Max Verstappen. So well done, Liam. Well done indeed. Then on lap 55, Antonelli retired the car. Unfortunately, it was a complete engine switch off. In fact, I've never seen a car switch off that quickly. If you listen to the... they did actually play the sound, and it's literally just went... dead. Completely dead. You could hear the electrical motor starting to wind itself down. It was going, whoa, whoa, whoa. But the actual engine part of it was just kaputski. Absolutely kaputski. So very, very strange. I've never actually heard them switch off like that so quickly. So then, of course, on lap 55, the safety car was deployed. Yes, and that was the only excitement we had in the Spanish Grand Prix. Piastri then pitted. Norris then came in. Verstappen came in. Here was the problem for Verstappen. Fourth pit stop, didn't really have any good tyres, so they put him on the hard tyres. Very bad decision, I think, with just, 13, 14 laps left? No, less than that, in fact. A very bad decision to put him on the hard tyres. I know they didn't have any tyres left, but personally I would just let him carry on going with those softs that he had on, because surely that would have lasted the end of the race. He'd have been struggling towards the end, but, you know, you've still got to get past Max Verstappen. That's the problem. You've still got to get past. So I don't know what even Max was sort of, why am I on hards? Why am I on hards? And it just kind of the radio says, because, you know, that's all we got, basically. So then on lap 60, the safety car came in, and this just sealed the race for me. It really did. Yes, Max makes a mistake. Well, he had a complete tank slapper, not just a mistake, a complete tank slapper. He was very, very lucky to be able to hold that car, because it was almost into the boondocks. It really was. He was very, very lucky, but he did hold on to it. Now, Leclerc got past him. He did actually touch with Max Verstappen, and this is probably where the red mist started for Max. That initial contact with Leclerc, I'm sure it did. And then, of course, we had that inevitable collision with George Russell. Yes, where Max goes to let him past, and then he just gets the super red mist on and decides to smash straight into the side of Max Verstappen. There's no other words you can say. That was a deliberate act by Max Verstappen, and that's why I've titled this video that Max is the new Senna 2.0. You may sort of be asking, why didn't I say Schumacher? Well, there's one good reason for that. Ayrton Senna's been dead for 31 years now. So a long time has passed, and as we know, Michael Schumacher is still alive. And to be honest, I don't like to throw shade at people that are still on the planet. Okay, and to be perfectly honest, for all the stuff that Michael Schumacher got involved in his career, I think he suffered enough. So I'm comparing him to Ayrton Senna. Now, Senna was definitely from the Max, or should I say Max is from the Senna school of driving. If there was an opportunity, or you got enough anger inside you, you would do whatever it took to beat your opponent. And then look how many times he clashed with Prost. And the fact that I think it was a Japanese Grand Prix, he deliberately took out Alain Prost. It was a deliberate move on Senna's part. And that little video clip that's always going around YouTube all the time will probably live in history for another 100, 200 years. But yeah, it was a deliberate act. And I have to say, what Max did, although nothing as bad as that move from Ayrton Senna, it was a deliberate act. He just got the red mist on and he decided to plough into the side of George Russell. So then Hulk overtakes Lewis Hamilton. That's what I had to write that down, because to remind myself, yes, because I thought for a moment I was dreaming. But no, Nico Hülkenberg overtook Lewis Hamilton. That's a very sad state of affairs. A very sad state of affairs. And in the end then, that was the end of the race. And the Hulk got some points. So congratulations to the Green Hornets. The Green Hornets, they did well, one of them anyway, not the other one, but they did the job. They finally got some points, and it's just absolutely wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Of course, circumstances got them those points, or at least more points than they were going to get. But anyway, congratulations to Hülkenberg. Great result. So after the race, this is straight after the race, before something else happened, the results were Piastri first, won the race, Norris was second, third Leclerc, fourth was Russell, and fifth was Verstappen. And congratulations has to be said to Fernando Alonso, who finally got off the loserville, and he's got 2 points. He's got 2 points. Yes, 2 points. Fantastic. Now, unfortunately, a little time after the race, Max was given a penalty and he was dropped down to 10th position. 10th position. Now, here's what I want to show you. This is the interview that Max Verstappen did after the race. Now, I've spoken about this before, but one of my hobbies is body language. I don't in any way, shape or form profess to be an expert. It's just a hobby. It's just a hobby. But I want you to look at this and tell me what you think. When Max is asked the question whether or not he deliberately hit George Russell, I don't want you to look at his mouth, what he's saying. Don't look there. I want you to look straight at Max Verstappen's eyes, and when he's asked that question, I want you to see how wide his eyes go as he gives his response, because that's a very good tell that basically he was admitting, yeah, I did it on purpose. So let's see if we can run that clip right now.
First question has to be, was the move on George intentional when you turned in?
Does it matter?
I think so, to people watching.
Yeah, okay, that's great. I mean, I prefer to speak about the race than just one single moment.
The moment itself got you a 10-second penalty though, and that pushes you back down to 10th, so it affects your driver's title hopes this year.
If there are any. So I think we are way too slow anyway to fight for the title. I think that was clear again today.
Okay, so let's now run the incident that has caused all the controversy. Here is Max Verstappen ploughing into George of the Russell.
Max, can you let Russell through, please? Let Russell through.
Look, I was ahead.
My advice is to let him through.
Wait, I was ahead. He just let me off the road.
But that's the rules.
Oh, contact! Max Verstappen! And looks like he's going to let George through. George is then on the outside, and wham!
So that was a fairly average Spanish Grand Prix, as I say. The race overall, before the safety car came out, I'd give a 4 out of 10. It went up to 6 after all the safety car shenanigans. But anyway, not really a classic F1 race by any stretch of the imagination. Right, now it's time for the part of the show that everyone loves so much. Yes, it's time for the current championship points and where everyone is in the championship. So currently, of course, leading the championship after that fantastic win in Spain is Oscar's Pastry. Yes, well done. He's now got 186 points. Second place goes to Lando Norris with 176. You can see they are starting to build a little bit of a gap at the top now, and I don't think anyone's going to catch him, to be honest. Maxi Boy Verstappen has got 137 points. He's in third position, and in fourth place it is George of the Russell with 111 points. So that's all the 3-point scorers at the top 4. Then we come to the double point scorers, which is the first of those is Charles Leclerc in fifth place with 94 points. Lewis Hamilton in sixth position with 71 points. Kimi Antonelli unfortunately retired from the Spanish Grand Prix. He's only got 48 points, so quite a gap between him and Lewis Hamilton. And then we've got Alexander Albon in 8th position with 42 points. Isaac Hajir with 21 points. 10th position for SD Bestie with 20 points. 11th place goes to Nico Hulkenberg with 16 points. Lance Stroll is in 12th with 14 points. 13th goes to Carlos Sainz in the Williams, of course, with only 12 points. Very disappointing season so far. 14th for Pierre Gasly in the Alpine with 11 points. I'm just getting excited because I know what's going to happen in a minute. 15th for Yuki Tsunoda with 10 points. Oliver Behrman in 16th place with 6 points. Liam Lawson in 17th with 4 points. And Fernando Alonso is in 18th position. He's now the top of the losers. Yes. He's got 2 World Championship points. Fantastic, Fernando. And what a show he was putting on for the Spanish crowd. He really was. He was going for impossible moves. That move ran the outside. He did about 3 times, I think. That was just great to see. Absolutely great to see. So well done to Fernando. 19th, unfortunately, Gabriel Bortoleto, still no points on the board. Jack Doohan out of Formula 1, just a reserve driver. And Franco Colapinto also still not got any points. And I think he's, 3 races into his 5-race contract, even though he signed a long-term contract with. It's very confusing. But then again, it is Alpine. Everything that's happening at Alpine is very, very confusing. Yes, very confusing. So I don't know what's going on. But anyway, at the moment, the Alpines are bottom of the table. In fact, they are now because, of course, Hulkenberg got some points for the Sauber Ferrari. So yes, they are now bottom of the losers. Yes, Alpine, Renault. I don't even know if that team will still be going at the end of the year. To be honest, it's not looking good. Anyway, there you go then. Those are the results so far. So we got a 2-week break now. Finally, it's been quite a rush the last 3 weeks of having a triple header. I must admit, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan 1 week after and then the next one. I always liked it when you had one race and then you had a 2-week gap. But I'm just old and stupid, so yeah, so I don't matter anymore. So that's just me. But I just preferred 2-week gap Grand Prix, you know. Anyway, we got a 2-week gap now, and of course the next round will be in Canada, and of course, will Lance Stroll be fit enough with his hand to come back? Unfortunately, they've got 2 reserve drivers, but they're off doing Le Mans. But now old, what's his name, said, no, it's all right. It's all right. If F1's up, I'll do that instead of Le Mans. Yes, well done. Get your priorities right. Yes. Yes, I don't want to do this Le Mans shit. I'm going to go do F1. Yes. So he should be there. If not, Valtteri Bottas has thrown his hat in the ring because he's the reserve driver for Mercedes. He could do it. But hopefully Lance will be back for his home Grand Prix. I mean, you know, they could just completely bandage up his hand so all he can do is move his fingers, because if it's a wrist problem, if you can usually immobilize the wrist with quite a lot of support bandages, and you can have a brace on your wrist, can't you, as well? So, but I don't think he'd do very well. Actually, the driving department, he'd probably end up last. So I don't know if that's a good idea. It's probably better to rest Lance until he's completely healed up and then put him back in the car. Because don't forget, you know, if you or I get a wrist injury, you know, a couple of weeks and we're fine. But we're not going around in an F1 car at 200 miles an hour doing about 6 or 7G, where you're basically using your hands all the time. That, you know, so he's got to have time to recover. Definitely got to have time to recover. So I'm not quite sure what happens there with Lance Stroll. We will see. We will see. All I do know is that the FIA ruling, because I did look this up, is that they have to have 2 cars, because they started the championship and declared that they were starting the championship with 2 cars. So they have to have, the only caveat to that is exceptional circumstances, which they've just used for Spain. So they can't use that again now. So in Canada, they've got to have 2 drivers in the cars. If you think about it, that makes sense. It's not up to the FIA to, you know, work out the drivers in the cars. Actually, entirely the team's job. And if they've farmed them out to Le Mans and stuff, that's their problem. So in Canada, there has to be 2 Aston Martins on the grid, and there has to be 2 drivers driving it as well. Yes, they can't just swap poor Alonso over halfway through and get him to do the other half just to say, oh look, we had 2 cars in the race. No. It's got to be 2 different drivers. So yeah. That's got to happen. That's got to happen. So they'll have to get someone in there. As I say, I can understand the FIA on that. It's not their job. They declared at the start of the season that 2 cars will be competing in Formula One, and so that's what they have to do. As I say, you get exceptional circumstances, but you can't have that for like 2 or 3 rounds at a time where you've only running 1 car. No. I mean, let's face it. There's loads of drivers out there that could go into that car. You've got the whole of the F2 field. They could cherry pick someone out of there. I'm sure they could, to drive that car. Wouldn't be the best idea, but you know, we had Oliver Bearman and he did a good job, didn't he, in the Ferrari? So, you know, as I say, the F2 cars, the F1 cars, they are different. Yes, the F1 is a lot faster and what have you, but the difference isn't extreme levels of difference. It's just the next step up. So if you're already in F2, it is possible for you to be able to drive an F1 car. That's the thinking anyway. F3, a little bit more tricky. But F2, F1, it's a step up, but it's not an extreme step up. So I think it should be okay. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the Maxi Boy and Russell Gate incident. I love it. I mean, let's face it, they can't stand each other anyway, because they had that spat last year with them, didn't they, when Russell was like, oh, I'm going to stand up and be a man because I'm going to stand up to Max now. Yes, because everyone says I'm just a pretty boy, and was it Woody from Toy Story? I've seen those memes, by the way, they're brilliant. I'm just like Woody from Toy Story, but no, I'm going to stand up to Max, because if I stand up to Max, then I will get lots of respect. You see, that was the thinking. I know it was. That's why they had that spat last year. He was just trying to, you know, position himself as, you know, a real man. So it's great because, you know, they can't stand each other. So, you know, it's obvious. But it's Formula One. They're not there to love each other. They're there to race each other. So, you know, it doesn't matter that they can't stand each other. That makes all the better of the racing out on the track, especially when it spills over like it did in Spain. What do I think should happen to Max? It's difficult. I've seen the internet. It's exploded on fire, saying he should be immediately dismissed from the sport. No. I think that's too harsh. If you look back at the things that Senna did and the things that Schumacher did, yeah, it wasn't that bad. The worst thing about it was it's pretty plain to see it was deliberate. That was the worst thing about it, but it wasn't that bad if you compare it to other incidents that I've had. So, I mean, he has got 3 penalty points on his licence, so the FIA have deemed that it was a bad incident. I mean, 3 points is a lot on an F. You only get 12 on your license, and then you get a 1 race ban, don't you? So he's got 3, and we're at round 9. I mean, he could just be thoroughly fed up now, just go for the whole of the season, treating it like a banger race and just smacking into everybody. Because at this point, I don't think Max cares at all. I just don't think he cares anymore. He knows the championship's done. There's no way he's going to be world champion. And when that happens, you lose motivation, you lose focus, and you just can't be bothered anymore. And so I think he'll just treat the rest of the season like a banger race. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens. So yeah. But for Max, I think the 3 points was enough, to be honest. It wasn't a good look for Max, I have to say. But it happens in life. We're all human beings, and how many times have we been wronged, and then we suddenly come back with our revenge? It's called human nature, unfortunately. As a species, that's what we do. That's what we do. It's not big, it's not clever. I agree with you. It's not big, it's not clever, but it's what we do. It's what we do. We always seek our revenge if we've been wronged, don't we? And that's what Max did. He thought he'd been wronged by Russell, so he let him pass, and then went, yeah, have a bit of this. Have a bit of this, you fucker. That's exactly what he did. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, everyone. You've been awesome as always, and I'll catch you in the next video.